Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here. I've got another Master Duel video for you all. So, of course, it wouldn't be me if I wasn't taking an archetype and making some kind of a Synchro pile deck out of it, right? And we are doing just that today with Dark Worlds. I really like Dark Worlds. You all know I really like pile decks, the ones that Synchro summon in particular. So, when I saw that the Dark World support was coming out, even before Dark World tier limits, this was the first build of the deck that or the archetype I guess I should say, that I started theory crafting. And one of the first things that you'll notice, and one of the first things I thought about when I was theory crafting this deck was dangers. Particularly, I started by testing dangers, and you'll notice that we're not playing a single danger monster in this deck, which probably seems pretty weird, right? Especially for a Dark World and Synchro-based deck, you would think, well, okay, the dangers can not only discard your Dark World monsters, but also put themselves on the board as bodies to Synchro with. Why are we not playing them in this deck? And the main reason we're not playing them in this deck is actually three reasons: Maxx, Ash Blossom, and Call By. Here's the thing about Danger Dark Worlds, particularly if you're going for a very heavy combo-based deck, is that I found that in testing builds like that, you really want your dangers to always be live. Now, when it comes to stuff like Danger Dark World tier limit, right, we're only playing 6 danger monsters, and the only non kind of engine cards we were playing were just the 3 Maxx and 3 Ash Blossom, so it didn't come up too much. It's a little bit different in a deck like this, right? In a deck like this, we're going to be filtering through our deck a lot more quickly because we're playing, like, you know, the Allures, as well as all the filtering stuff like the Snoww, the Genta for the Gates. Gates also accomplishes this, Archives, and in that respect, you're going to be seeing, like, most of your deck on an ideal turn 1. In that regard, we can't be having stuff in our hand that's dead for the dangers to discard. Like, when a danger monster discards like a Maxx or an Ash Blossom or Call By, that sucks. It feels really bad. We also can't get these cards out of our hand. Like, we can't, like, set them to the field or anything before, you know, we start comboing with the dangers. I mean, in theory, we could set, like, Call By, for example, but then if our opponent chains Maxx to our danger effect, well, we can't activate the Call By we just set because it's a quick play spell. So I found that in the theory crafting again, we just were too focused on, like, the dangers, and I kind of found myself with two options before me, right? I could either play a very greedy danger synchro based build that doesn't play stuff like Maxx, Ash Blossom, or Called By, which is something you could kind of get away of in best of 3, but in best of 1, here on Master Duel, that's a lot different. Or I was like, you know, I could actually try to make a Synchro build that doesn't play dangers, and that seemed kind of daunting at first, but excuse me, but I arrived at this build here, and I will say this much: there are better Synchro pile decks you could be playing, but that doesn't stop this deck from being a whole lot of fun. And beyond the stuff I crafted for Danger Dark World tier limits, I didn't craft anything else for this deck in particular, so didn't really cost me any extra materials to make, and had a lot of fun playing it. So Fabled Raven is actually going to be one of our main engines for this deck here. It's a pretty innocuous card. It's a level 2 Light Fiend Tuner that simply increases its level by 1 for every card that you discard when you activate its effect. But as you can see, discarding is not part of its cost, it's part of the effect, so it does trigger our Dark World monsters. And more importantly, it's also, well, actually equally as importantly, honestly, because bumping this thing up to level 4 by discarding 2 cards is how you're going to make a lot of your plays here. It's also light, which is very convenient for a Chaos Ruler, of course. We also have Performage, Trick Clown, and if we really need to, Fairy Tale Snoww to utilize as light monsters for Chaos Ruler as well. But more often than not, it's going to be the Fabled Raven here. We also have a lot of level 4 bodies that we can summon in addition to Raven after it's bumped its level up to 4. The Trick Clown, like I mentioned, does not matter how this goes to the graveyard, it will bring itself back. We have Genta. Genta can discard itself to add Gates, and then when it's banished by Gates, it'll summon itself to the field. We're also playing a single copy of Beige just to have a little bit more level 4 non-tuner bodies for the board. Oh, we're also playing a Zephyros as well. Zephyros not only acts as another level 4 body you can recur, but it does so by bouncing Gates, which is really nice because then, remember, Gates along with many other Dark World effects is not once per turn. So if you bounce the Gates with Zephyros, you can activate Gates and then potentially use the effect right away again, which is very handy. We are playing some Assault Synchrons, no room for tunings. I also thought about Jet Synchron and potentially including like a hot Red Dragon Archfiend in the extra deck. That is definitely still something you could do and would not be bad. The only thing I didn't like about Jet Synchron is that it sends the card, doesn't discard it, so won't trigger any of your Dark World effects that way. But of course we do still have a lot of other cards that do like going to the graveyard here. To potentially be used with Assault Synchron, I mean, normally you're probably just going to be utilizing it alongside Chaos Sword to make like Baronne or Baron, but we also have a couple of level 6 bodies, or a few level 6 bodies in the deck to potentially use with Assault Synchron to make Chaos Ruler. We're playing 3 Bystials, so that's kind of like the obvious choice, but we're also playing a single copy of Lucent, Netherlord of the Dark World. This is pretty much just Beige, but it's level 6 instead of 4, so again, that can occasionally come up with an Assault Synchron in order to make the Chaos Ruler there. As far as this build goes and changes I would make if I wasn't restricted to the URs I have, because I mean, I know I do have plenty of crafting materials, but again, I didn't go out of my way to craft any other cards for this deck other than the ones that I had already. I think a third Reign-Beaux and potentially a second Grapha wouldn't be bad. Again, you could take out the Maxx, Ash Blossoms, and Call Buys, as well as probably a few other cards. You wouldn't need as many Fabled Ravens. Throwing in the Danger package, I'd play like 3 Nessie and then probably one of each of the rest of them from there, doubling up on copies that are particularly good, like potentially Jackalope and Bigfoot there. As far as the extra deck goes, the extra deck is pretty wide open. There's like a lot you can throw in here, so I don't think this extra deck is necessarily optimized at all. Coral Dragon I have included as a level 6 option if we need to go Assault Synchron plus one of our many level 4s. That does come up occasionally, so I do like that. The DDDs I think might be a bit win more, but this is another option if you end on 2 level 4 Fiends to add the Divisor King Deus Machina next to your end board. That could potentially be good sometimes, but the thing I actually don't like about this card is that it doesn't negate monster effects, it just steals monsters that activate their effects under it as overlay units, which is not bad by any means, but again, doesn't actually negate the effect, so it's not always an effective end board piece here. This deck could also use a rank 8. I actually kind of can't believe I don't have one in here. I did have one, I think, in initial draft, but it doesn't come up too often, but maybe Hope Harbinger and or number 90. The Zeus Dweller line, or rather the Dweller Zeus line, I should say, didn't really come up for me, but I still like having the option for it. Dugares also didn't really come up, but again, just like having a rank 4 option. I think I actually did summon this at one point. We'll see anyway. I don't know. The extra deck, like I said, is just very, very tight. There's a lot of things you can include in here, including any number of Synchro monsters, because Fabled Raven can adjust itself to pretty much any level, depending on how much you're willing to discard there. So, okay, I think that's enough about talking about the build itself. I'm going to break it down card by card, and then we'll look at some gameplay. So, we're on 3 Fabled Raven, 3 Maxx, 3 Assault Synchron, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Beige Vanguard of the Dark World, 1 Blackwing Zephyros the Elite, 3 Snoww Unlight of the Dark World, 1 Performage Trick Clown, 1 Fairy Tale Snoww, 3 Genta Gateman of the Dark World, 1 Lucent Netherlord of the Dark World, 1 Bystial Magnamhut, 1 Bystial Druiswarm, 1 Bystial Baldrake, 1 Grapha Dragon Lord of the Dark World, 2 Reign-Beaux Overking of the Dark World, 1 Card Destruction, 3 Allure of Darkness, 3 The Gates of Dark World, 1 Dark World Archives, 2 Call by the Grave, and then 1 Dark World Ascension. There's our main deck. For the extra deck, we're on 1 Grapha Dragon Overlord of Dark World, 1 Coral Dragon, 1 Chaos War, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, 1 Accel Synchro Stardust Dragon, 1 Baronne de Fleur, 1 Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Chengying, 1 Dweller, 1 DDD Wave King Caesar, 1 number 60 Dugares the Timeless, 1 Divine Arsenal Zeus Sky Thunder, 1 DDD Divisor King Deus Machina Nex, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Muckraker from the Underworld, 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, and then 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. There's our list. Let's look at some gameplay now. Alright, I'm going to be starting with this duel against Branded Tearlaments. Our opponent is on a 60 card variant, and this will showcase a lot of the comboing the deck can do. In addition to that, it'll even be a going second game. We do open with the Maxx, so I'm going to fire that off during the draw phase here. And I believe that'll more or less force my opponent to, no, not like skip their turn, but they'll definitely be doing the like the Maxx tier elements line, which is to just make kick close and probably find a Soliac before passing back over. Our hand is looking like, I don't know, it's not terrible. If we just find a dark monster, we should have access to plenty of plays here. Our opponent's going to actually add a Havness in the set of cards, so I'm just going to play presuming that this face-down card is a Soliac. No dark monster here, but I'm going to go ahead and take a chance here anyway. Gonna set up as many things on the field as possible. First, activating Gates, setting Allure and normal summoning Raven before firing off the Allure there. We do draw 2 dark monsters, Assault Synchron and Snoww. Because I do have the Gates on field, I'm going to keep the Snoww in hand and banish the Assault Synchron. Going to activate Fabled Raven to discard 2 here, those 2 being Trick Clown and the Snoww. Opponent's going to mill 3. They do mill a Mudora, which is slightly annoying, but thankfully they just use it right away here on the Trick Clown. As well as the Snoww. I don't know why they put Snoww back in the deck. The card is not once per turn, so being able to find additional copies is definitely a-okay with me. Opponent's also going to throw in a Super Poly, pinching Cartesia, getting rid of Young Cartesi in order to summon the Tearlaments Rolkalos. So yeah, no Trick Clown, we do still get the Snow Search. I'm going to grab Genta here. Opponent's going to fire off both Havness and Kickalos's effects because they refused by the Super Poly. They were both sent by a card effect. Thankfully, our opponent did not mill anything off of the Kickalos there. But they do still get to fuse for a Masquerade, which definitely has a new like aura around it when it activates its effect, I've been noticing. So definitely going to make sure to get rid of this Masquerade as kind of priority number 1 here, because obviously, you know, we're a very combo-based deck. We're going to be playing a lot of cards, and in that regard, I do not want to be taking, obviously, you know, a whole lot of damage under Masquerade, but we'll have to take quite a bit before we're able to get rid of it. Thankfully, our opponent did not Magnamhut. I mean, to be fair, it makes sense they didn't Magnamhut Argenta because I would just summon it, but that also would have kept me from activating Gates. Well, I mean, I still could have synced and then activated Gates, to be fair, but I think my opponent probably could have timed the Magnamhut a little bit better, but it's ultimately going to be fine here. So going to be activating our Gates here. Opponent did stop the Genta summon with the Rolkalos, but we thankfully found another copy of Genta. I mean, we could have done that either way, thanks to the Snoww that we discarded, but we drew a copy of Genta, so we get to use our Snow Surge for Grapha here. As you can see, we're taking quite a bit of damage from this Masquerade, but again, if I can just get to this Grapha discard and finally destroy this Masquerade, that is all going to be worth it there. We're going to end up paying down to 1,400 life points, which is kind of barely enough. With this Assault Synchron, we're going to be taking another 7 here in a bit, but I get to summon back Genta, and because Fabled Raven is level 4, get to sync with it to make the Chaos Ruler. I'm going to activate Chaos Ruler's effect and see what we can find here. Ooh, sending Fairy Tail Stone to the yard is going to be pretty great. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and grab Genta so we can get our last copy of Gates here, but not before activating the Allure. Opponent's going to bring back their Masquerade. That's totally fine. It's not going to deal damage to us anymore because it wasn't fusion summoned, so that is a-okay. I'm going to finally flip up this face-down Allure, finding Beige and Druiswarm. Probably 2 of the best draws we could have found here, honestly. Alright, especially in the Assault Synchron, we're going to go into the Baronne here. Chaos War is going to bring itself back by banishing Genta and the Fabled Raven. Alright, let's go ahead and special the Druiswarm. I'll banish my opponent's Kickalos, so that's not going to be relevant for the rest of the game anymore. And now we're going to link off the Druiswarm and the, what was the other card? Why can't I? Oh, Chaos War, duh. And we're going to go for Muckraker. Muckraker is actually completely generic. You don't even need a Fiend to make it. But we can definitely be discarding this Beige in order to bring back another Fiend monster from our graveyard with the Muckraker effect. We're going to bring back Snoww. Beige will bring itself back. And then I can bounce both Beige and Snoww to summon the Grapha and the Reign-Beaux that are sitting in my graveyard. We can use Baronne to take out the Magnamhut. And now we can battle over our opponent's Rolkalos and then into their life points for lethal here. So I will say that when this duel, particularly when my turn started, like, I did not think I was going to be winning this duel, but I was like, you know, I can at least put up a good fight, and it'll be still a good video for the, or still a good duel for the video, even if I lose. But I managed to actually find the lethal here by just continuing to combo. This deck is very non-linear in that regard, because we're doing a lot of drawing off of like gates and stuff. But yeah, if you can just keep going and finding lethal, pushing through the opponent's board, even in situations where it seems pretty hopeless, as you can see, we can still manage to find the win. We do still have a few more duels to take a look at. Let's go straight into the next one here. Okay, our next opponent here is going to be on Sprite. We did actually fight. It's funny, when I played the control deck, Labyrinth, I ended up facing nothing but control decks, but then when I play a combo deck, now I face nothing but other more combo-based decks, so... gonna be going second yet again here. That's definitely not ideal, of course. This deck would very much like to go first. We just happen to go second a lot during these games in particular. Gonna fire off a Maxx, and opponent seemingly completely unafraid is just going to accept the Maxx challenge. Now here's the thing about taking the Maxx challenge, especially on turn 1. Even for the amount of draws my opponent's already given me, that's already more than I personally like to go into when it comes to playing into the Maxx here. But I will say that, I'm going to definitely use Ash Blossom this sprint, by the way. It's kind of hard to know sometimes when to use Ash Blossom against sprites. Using it against Sprint will stop them from getting 2 level 2 bodies on board, so I like that. Otherwise, I like holding it for the Gigantic. Well, Starter's the best thing to Ash Blossom at the beginning of their plays, but if that's not a viable option, then I think either Sprint or Gigantic would be the best thing to go for. But, oh shoot, I was saying something before, and then I interrupted myself, and now I don't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, no, I was talking about taking the Maxx challenge on turn 1. TLDR, don't. Like, it's so extremely rare that it's ever worth it to give your opponent... honestly, I don't like giving my opponent more than 2 draws max under a turn 1 Maxx. Them starting with a +1 is like annoying but still manageable. When they get a +2, then it becomes a lot less manageable and a lot more annoying. And I think if you're at the point where you're giving your opponent +3 or more cards under Maxx on turn 1, it's probably not the right play. Again, you would have to have like an extremely unbreakable board, especially to warrant as many draws as my opponent is giving me here. And they're just not. They're just ending on a regular Sprite board. It's like, I don't think what my opponent did was worth how many draws they gave me here at all. Because now, like, I can do like pretty much whatever I want. Like, I have my whole deck in my hand right here. And the rest of the deck that's not in my hand is very accessible because I've got 2 Snoww, 2 Gates, and Archives, and Allure. Just a ton of stuff here that I can make plays with. Alright, opponent's going to try to bring back the Carrot. I'll go ahead and called by that just to make sure that, you know, none of my spells are getting negated here. Let's activate the Archives as well as the Gates. Gonna banish Genta and discard Snoww. We found Grapha. It's funny, I was gonna search Reign-Beaux here to eventually search for Grapha, but we just drew it off the gates anyway, so that's totally fine. Genta will summon itself, Archives will activate. I'll just pitch the Grapha and draw a couple more cards here. And Snow's just gonna end up adding Beige. I'm actually at a point where Snoww doesn't have a whole lot to add here. So I'm gonna use Grapha on the Melfi Caddy, but that was a mistake because the Melfi Caddy was gonna proc during this chain link anyway. And as you can see, I just ended up using Ash Blossom against it anyway, so I probably should have hit the back row, which I know was double cross. Either that or the red, or the IP. There were a lot of hits. Caddy was not any of them. I'm going to be activating Gates. Opponent's going to chain the double cross in order to steal my Grapha. I'm going to chain the Druiswarm to banish the Grapha. That might not have been correct, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to get to use the Grapha. Well, actually, to be fair, I could have destroyed the Gigantic at some point and then brought back Grapha. Okay, so yeah, that was actually a misplay. There was really no reason to banish my own Grapha there. For some reason, I just had it in my head that Double Cross was going to put their Grapha, my Grapha on their field, and it's like, well, it kind of does, but as an Xyz material, not as an actual body that's threatening. Unless they, well, but they didn't have an open link zone, right? So they had to have used the effect to, yeah, attach. So I'm going to go into an IP'd Avermax here, which I did figure was coming at some point, of course, the IP on the board telegraphed it. Also, I saw stats for Lucent. That card is really new, and I saw it at 0.0001%. Wow, I did not think that the stats were going to be updating that regularly. Like, I kind of thought they updated the stats with, like, you know, every patch that they add, maybe. But it seems like it is in real time, because even just yesterday, I do not remember seeing a usage stat for Lucent. That's neat. Okay, cool. But anyway, get a special summon this Magnamhut next to my level 4 Fabled Raven here. That'll allow me to go for the Chengying. No need to go for Baronne here, because we pretty much already have lethal in the bag here. There's no way we don't. I'll activate Allure just to trigger the Chengying, get rid of my opponent's red. Sprite red there. Go for another Gates F. Get another Snoww off. Snoww doesn't really have anything left to search at this point, just the Ascension, but the Gates, or the Grapha rather, is banished, so. And then yeah, all it takes at this point is just bringing back Snoww to get enough damage on board for lethal. So there's yet another example of us playing through a turn 2, but of course this time it was not hard at all to push to our opponent's turn 1 board because they very generously donated so many cards to our hand, thanks to one little earth insect. We do have a couple more games to look at. Let's go straight to the next one here. Alright, here we're going to be playing against Mutant, which is definitely a Master 5 deck if I've ever seen it. By that I mean, of course, that, you know, once you hit Master 5 and can't D-rank anymore, it's time to bust out some of the more casual stuff. Although, of course, because we're at Master 5 and not 1, a lot of people are still playing competitively, as we've seen before. But anyway, we actually get to go first this time. Unfortunately, our opening hand isn't really that fantastic, but we do at the very least have Assault Synchron plus Trick Clown, which, if nothing else, is a Baronne. So hopefully between the Baronne, the Maxx, and the Baldrake, I'll have enough disruption to stop my opponent from whatever it is they end up trying to do here. The Coral Dragon does get us an additional draw to maybe find something. A Genta would be the best draw, but a Reign-Beaux is not going to get us any more plays here. So funnily enough, my opponent's activating Dragged Down to the Grave, despite not being on Dark World themselves. This is some like 2009 Dark World tech. This is some like pre-Grapha Dark World tech. It's basically kind of like Confiscation, but both players do it. I so badly, as you can see, I fired off Maxx in response, so it didn't get discarded. So badly wish I could summon the Baldrake here. Getting my opponent to discard either of these would have been phenomenal, but alas, we were not so fortunate. The opponent is just going to end up discarding our Baldrake here. Of course, there's no reason for them to proc the Dark World effects. So our opponent revealed a few interesting things, right? It's actually more Mutant Sprites than just pure Mutants. As you can see from that hand, but when I was looking at the deck list, there's not a lot of Sprite cards at all in this deck. But they do have a couple of Nimbles and the Sprite Red. Now, you might think that Nimble Beaver would be the best card to take out because that's like a 1-card starter to their engine, but I decided to discard their Sprite Red instead. I figured if they normal summon Nimble Beaver, I can just negate and destroy it with Baronne. Then even if they did draw another Sprite card off of their draw dragged by, they won't have another, or dragged down rather, they won't have another level 2 body on the board. Going to be drawing Ash Blossom off the drag down. That's definitely very welcome. Firing off the Baronne, like I said, against the Nimble Beaver F. Opponent actually top deck a Sprite starter, but thankfully we just top decked the exact counter to it. So, beautiful. We definitely love to see it. Alright, so between their Sprite starter getting negated as well as their Nimble Beaver getting negated and destroyed, now the only 2 cards left in their hand are a Nimble Angler and a Mutant that can't summon itself. I didn't read it here in the replay, but during the actual game I did stop to read what the card did. So the only unknown factor at this point is one face-down card that they just set, so I'm not particularly scared of it. And yeah, my opponent's just going to concede. I think even if my top deck hadn't been live, like we just would have blown up the back row and then smacked them for 47, would have normal summoned Snoww. Opponent would have passed back, and then yeah, like I said, they would have had a Mutant that they could have normal summoned on the next turn, but I'm not really scared of one like Mutant monster. The Nimble Angler in hand doesn't do a whole lot, and they would have had the one unknown factor, still the card they're drawing, but I think the odds of that being a live card were relatively low. We have one more game to take a look at, so let's go straight into it here. And our final duel is going to be against Generator, of course, one of the newer archetypes that came out. Well, it's not a new archetype, but it's an archetype that got some new support in the latest selection pack. Going second, wow, we went second almost every single game here, didn't we? This would have been, oh my god, could you imagine this turn 1 hand? Just casually normal summoning Fabled Raven and discarding 2 Snows. Ugh. Alright, so opponent's going to start with Diviner sending the Trez Hierarcha. That's going to pull out DD Sprite of all cards. Are we getting usage stats for like every card now? It kind of seems like we are. That'd be phenomenal if true. Okay, yeah, still not some of the newer ones. I think Vala's new. Horror definitely is not new. Yeah, okay, yeah. That one definitely has usage rates. So opponent does get to set up the Baronne, in addition to that a Leviathan, the generator boss, before setting a card and then passing back to us. So drawing the Performage Trick Clown, and as you can see, I ultimately decided to dump not 2, but 4 cards here. I'm going to discard the 2 Snoww, the Trick Clown, and the Fabled Raven. So normally I only discard 2 for Fabled Raven, so it stays level 4, and I can sync for 8. However, here I wanted to discard multiple cards. I wanted to discard 6. Well, I really needed to discard 3, right? I need to discard the 2 Snoww as well as the Trick Clown, so the Trick Clown could chain block the Snoww, and neither of them will get negated by the Baron. But odd level tuners don't do anything really in this deck, particularly with the extra deck. Everything is even level, and we pretty much always sync with either 4s or 6s. So we're always working with even levels. I don't like having an odd level tuner in this deck, so I just decided to discard the other Fabled Raven as well. So yeah, gonna trigger both Snowws and then chain lock them with the Trick Clown. If they want to get the Trick Clown, which they do, that's completely fine with me. I'm definitely gonna be putting other level 4 monsters on the board here. And if they didn't decide to negate it, that's also still fine, because I can just sync for Baron and then use that to provoke my opponent's Baron. But here, they are going to negate the Trick Clown and then change into the Jormungandr here from the Leviathan. So using my Snowws, I'm going to grab Genta and Reign-Beaux. Getting Reign-Beaux instead of Grapha because I already know I have multiple gates worth of activations here. So I know it's not going to be hard to pitch Reign-Beaux and then use Reign-Beaux to add Grapha and then pitch Grapha with my follow-up gates. Genta will also summon itself here. Opponent conceded very early in my opinion, although I guess to be fair I don't know their back row. But the idea was that Genta was going to bring itself back, sync with the level 6 Fabled Raven to make a Baron. Their Baron's obviously spent, so I'd have to read Jormungandr again, but I might have used the Baron to just go ahead and pop that. Let me actually look at Jormungandr. What does this do? Quick effect, detach, draws, attaches. I mean, I don't know. I could have destroyed that with Baron's effect or the back rail. I could have also just waited for the Jormungandr to activate and then negate it and destroy it. So I could have also done that with the back rail. I think I probably would have just blown up the Jormungandr. But in any case, you know, we actually have multiple destructions because from there, Reign-Beaux searches Grapha. We activate the second gates, like I mentioned before. Discard the second Grapha, activate it, blow up another card, and then we still have an Allure and whatever we draw off the second gates from there. So yeah, definitely had a lot of plays moving forward. Had a lot of fun playing this deck. Again, could you play a better Synchro pile deck? Absolutely, but I still think this build is worth exploring. Thank you all for watching. Let's go ahead and move now to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack. You'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation. You do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot, as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now, so without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.